This is a scene that people are talking about, and people are making assumptions about it in the Are You Sure reality show with Jimin and JK. Some of the BTS members' comment sections have been flooded with hate, and we need to talk about that. And we had a recent interaction with a friend of J-Hope's and what's going on with that. So hey dumplings, it's Dave Disci. Let's get into it. There's a story that has been trending recently that people found to be really cute. Obviously, as some of the members have been active again, there have been a lot more stories or bump-in stories with them, or at least there could be, and I'll explain. So a lot of people were talking about a recent story that came out with someone that is J-Hope's friend. This is Manon from KATSEYE. I hope I'm saying her name correctly. She apparently had a really embarrassing interaction with one of the BTS members, and she decided to share that in a recent video. She was severely jet-lagged at one point, and she still had her promotion stuff that she needed to do, and she had a lot to do. She was also apparently a little bit sick, so keep all of that in mind, as this is really important. And of course, as you can tell, this is a recipe for disaster, as she was in the label's elevator, and she had ran into someone who she thought was J-Hope. So of course she said hi because she is friends with J-Hope, and I was even a little bit more surprised to hear that they all have a group chat together. And J-Hope always seems to answer the group chat even with silly questions like what restaurant do you like and things like that. So obviously they're friends. I don't know how they met, but it of course wouldn't be impossible for them to meet as they are label mates. And if BTS was part of the decision-making process on who the next groups should be, and I don't know if they were, but if they were, then that makes sense why they would all be familiar with the newer artists coming in. What is interesting is the person that she said hi to was not J-Hope, but apparently was someone that was in the same group. She said hi very enthusiastically, and of course this random BTS member was like, I don't know who this is, and kind of had a blank stare. Now, I'm a little bit surprised that any of the BTS members would even have a blank stare, because obviously they should know who their label mates are. But perhaps one of them just isn't very active within that part of the label and really had no idea. So she wasn't alone in the elevator. She was also with some of her other members, and they very quickly said that that's not J-Hope and left it at that. And she recounts the story as something that is very embarrassing. I completely understand this. Sometimes I just get embarrassed when I meet someone once and I reintroduce myself again. So I think that that is definitely a little bit more embarrassing than that. People had a lot of assumptions as to who this other person was because she didn't say it. So if it's in the same group, then clearly it's one of the BTS members. So we're all very familiar with all of them. And so there's only about 6 other guesses, right? Given that she was tired, sick, and potentially also had a blurry eye, it made sense that it probably would be someone with a very similar figure as J-Hope. J-Hope is obviously out of the military, and it would only be those that would be out of the military. So if it wasn't J-Hope, it could have been Jin. And then the other person that a lot of people were theorizing about was Suga, because he, while in the military, is doing office work or alternative service, so he could still be out and about and potentially enter the HYBE office a lot. Plus, a lot of people were saying that they had often confused both J-Hope and Suga a lot during the beginning when they first got into BTS. But of course, even aside from all that, when you hang out with a group of people a lot, you all start to look like each other. So I think a lot of people could confuse the BTS members with each other. We don't know who it is, whatever. We'll let it go, or at least I will. I don't know if this is what caused some of the hate comments that have recently appeared on J-Hope's Instagram account, but I would not be surprised if it kind of led to that. However, I'm more surprised that there aren't a lot of hate comments on Manon's Instagram account, as when she said that they're in a group chat with J-Hope, I would imagine that that would have caused a huge backlash there, but I'm glad that it doesn't. Now on J-Hope's TikTok account, or maybe just a video of him, because I can't really find the original that people are talking about, there is an alleged increase in a lot of comments insulting BTS or putting their accomplishments down. The boys' accomplishments. So comments saying EXO is better, comments saying Stray Kids is better, comments saying that ENHYPEN is going to be the next BTS. So a lot of different things are being said, and of course very controversial things. A lot of these groups are very different, and there of course is some overlap. Like in the beginning, EXO and BTS were kind of similar, which is why they were pinned against each other. But as BTS started to grow and they started to find their own sound, it was clear that the groups were very different from each other. Stray Kids is the same, and they're extremely different from BTS. They tend to focus more on rock, they tend to focus more on this punk or urban vibe, and that's just not the type of content that BTS had made in a really long time. Now, if BTS comes back from the military, would they jump into this? Maybe, but that's not what they've been known for at this point. Maybe their earlier stuff, but not their more recent popular stuff. These comments are very strange because I don't know where they're coming from. Obviously, they're coming from very different fandoms, and I'm wondering if BTS had been so inactive for a really long time that these other fandoms have sort of taken over the K-pop space online, and anytime a BTS video comes in, now it's being served to all those people, because a lot of people might have taken a break from watching BTS content and gone into other fandoms just to fill the time, and then realize maybe that they like the other groups better. I don't know. I'm guessing here. I'm not saying that the other groups are better. My heart is always going to be with BTS. Of course, the other groups are good, but BTS is my number one. But obviously, people can feel however they want to feel. These are just my theories. I can't really explain why these comments would happen, whereas even just 2 years ago, you would not see a lot of things like this typed in the comments. You might see one comment about EXO that rises to the top, but then the rest of the comments would be about BTS and not about other groups. So I'm seeing a lot more of these types of comments on videos, and it's kind of strange to me. And I don't think that people from other fandoms are purposely seeking out BTS content to write these types of comments, but I think it's just being served to them, so then they're just writing it. And I don't fully really know why it's not being served to people who actually like BTS or are loyal to BTS. I'm very excited for when they come back, and I am waiting impatiently actually here for more content. There have been a lot of people who are talking about some of the content that's already been out. One, of course, is Are You Sure? If you're not aware, this is Jimin and JK's reality show, and this is them showing them on vacation. This is a show that's on Disney Plus, and you can binge watch it there. I also react to some of the highlights and stuff over on Patreon. If you're interested in joining that and then fangirling with me on those moments, then I'm happy to have you there. I will leave a link at the top of the description for that. A lot of people have requested the $1 tier to come back, so I added that tier back in there with limited spots, so now you can have access to thousands of videos already on there. Plus, I try to upload every day there as well, all for $1 a month. So if you're interested in that, make sure you check it out. Now, there are scenes in which people are talking about one of the boys cuddling in the dark or sleeping together in the dark. Now, if you've watched the show, there are various moments in which you'll see the two sleeping together in bed, apparently in the first episode. There was also a moment in which the two were sleeping together in the dark, and a lot of people were freaking out about that because they couldn't actually see the moment of what the two were doing, and they felt like it was very suspicious. A lot of people started to look into boy love dramas or just gay Korean moments and say that this is probably what was happening under the lights, or how do you say, like without the lights, I guess. And there was one moment in which we see the two seemingly Korean men just cuddle up with each other on the couch. Now, the scene that we see where it goes dark, it likely is going dark because that's the end of that scene, or they're just trying to make it the end of that scene or a transition. And it makes it easy to make a transition as they can brighten it back up and then it's like the next day, or brighten it back up into the next scene. So it's a very useful way to transition into something. And I say this because often it's just a method that they use. It's not supposed to be that they're hiding something. So a lot of people believe that Disney Plus or the label was attempting to hide this by doing this. Now, Disney Plus themselves would not attempt to hide because they are a fairly liberal company and they don't really care about gay moments being shown. I don't know, I'm pretty sure. But I'm sure that the boy love dramas or gay dramas are all in there, so I don't think that they care. So I do think that it's very interesting that people had this assumption. However, it's not likely what was going on, and we can probably just assume that the boys were just sleeping and they wanted to sleep next to each other, like when the screen went dark. I mean, they consider themselves family, and family can do things like this without it being sexual. I do think it's weird that people have this assumption sometimes, not all the time, sometimes, because I can understand that some of these lovey-dovey moments can seem a bit romantic, but they do often refer to each other as brothers, not friends, not best friends, but family members. So that's kind of strange to refer to each other as family members if they see each other in a romantic way, because then they could just refer to each other as really close friends. But I wouldn't be able to, let's say, get it on romantically or intimately with someone that I considered a brother. So that's just my input on that. However, of course, I do also think these moments that we see in the reality show are really cute. And I think they are moments that most people would fangirl and freak out about, because that's likely why they were shown, right? Because people do think it's cute. Let me know what you think. Make sure to check out Patreon for more videos. Link down below. Thank you to the Slovak comment right here. Love you. Bye.